Praise and power. Praise and power, family. Thank you so much for joining me today for a moment of harmony. I know that we all worked very hard. Many of us worked really hard so that a moment of harmony could really be on. I could be streaming mobile from my phone, and I would not have to be reliant on this webcam. Many of you have still stuck it in there with me and watched these videos and stuck out with these microphones and this pixelated picture. And I'm just saying thank you so much. I'm very grateful for all of those who have said, we're going to thug this out with you. We're going to go ahead and stick it out. Initially, when I came onto YouTube, there's all these qualifications for going live. You have to, it's not like it was a little bit ago where you just could live stream from your phone and there you are. You now have to have a certain amount of subscribers, and you guys rocked out. Thank you to every one of my subscribers who subscribed, who shared, who commented, who liked, in order to get a moment of harmony on a level and on a platform where we can continue to grow it and I can continue to make it all that I need it to be. All that we needed to be as a family, as a people, as a nation, just really getting us into a healing space with some intentional healing platforms. So thank you so much for all of you. When I attempted to go live and go from my phone because I have enough subscribers, they updated it. So now you need 1,000 subscribers to go live from the phone. And when you don't own the field, you're behind in the game. So we are making do with what we can. Thank you all who have subscribed so much so far. Please bear with me with the images and the way that the image is. I feel like I'm Skyping you guys. It feels so old school, but it's okay. We're going to work through it. You can hear me, then we can grow together. Okay. But eventually we are definitely getting to those 1,000 subscribers and beyond. And then we will be able to go live from the mobile phone. And my mom got me this wonderful setup where I have, the lights and the pod that holds the phone and the backdrops. And it's going to get magical, guys. We're going to keep moving as it gets more magical. But thank you all again for your support, for your chiming in, for your sharing. It has meant so very much to me, and we are only moving more and more and more. Welcome to this week's Moment of Harmony. Thank you for sharing and having a wonderful moment with me. This week, we are dealing with the affirmation. We are working through the affirmation, my flesh is not weak. It is divine and disciplined. That's where we are going to be going on this Saturday. That's where we're going to be working through, moving through, and coming to a better understanding. So for all of you that are going through these moments, taking notes, I am getting your messages. I am getting your DMs. I hear you. I'm definitely going to be moving at a pace where if you are taking those notes, we're going to be getting them in. For all of you that have been doing these affirmations, that took these affirmations back from our prayer and purge in 2021, all of you that have been working through that affirmation, we're going to get into it today. And if it's your first time ever being with me, ever hearing the affirmation, we're going to work through it all the same, all just as well. If you have never heard of me before and you don't know where we are in our series, we are in a 25-week affirmation series. We're on week number 16 here on YouTube Live. But if you have been following me from my Facebook Lives, you know where you can find those older videos. If you don't, previous videos from our previous affirmations in this series are on my Facebook page, available under Harmonie, Harmonie, Davis, Davis. My name is not hyphenated on Facebook, so it is Harmonie Davis. And you can get to any of those videos that we've made previously in this series. But here we are today in this series with... Get the camera straight. Here we are today in this series with this affirmation for today. My flesh is not weak. It is divine and disciplined. My flesh is not weak. It is divine and disciplined. We are going to get into why. Why And many of you know I have my little notes over here so that these moments can be moments, okay? They don't have to be a whole hour. My 15-year-old wisdom, he was good. I'd be like, Mom, why you talk so much? Why does it go so long? I'm trying to get us all through this process together. But I am going to definitely try to make our moments small moments so that we can get into many of the other moments of our day and still take what we need for our elevation and our healing. But I do have my notes to help keep me on track. So I have here, my flesh is not weak. So when we say that our flesh is weak, we're talking about handicapping our flesh. Right? We say something is weak, it's unable, it is incapable, it is not up to par. So when we say our flesh is weak, and that's something that people use a lot. We say, like, well, the flesh is weak. So why do we handicap our flesh? So when we first have to get into this affirmation, when we're working through our lives and we're healing and we're elevating, we're expanding and we're growing, and we're getting to the point where we're saying, my flesh is not weak. It is divine and disciplined. We first have to ask ourselves why we handicap our flesh in the first place. Why are we okay with saying that our flesh is weak? And the reason that we handicap our flesh, the reason why we say that, well, it's the same reason why people say boys will be boys, or it is what it is. It is because of a feeling of a lack of power and a lack of control. If you knew how powerful you were, you would never say that anything about you is weak, and definitely not your flesh. If you were well informed on the function of your body and on the function of your beingness, and just how much you do and give and create to function, to be within yourself, to be well, then you would never say my flesh is weak, right? Physically, or metaphorically or spiritually. We would understand that no, when we handicap our flesh, it is because of the lack of faith that we have of what's going on inside of us. It is a lack of faith that we have in our abilities and our capabilities anytime. So we put a vehicle in the garage and we put some tarp over it or a cover over it and we don't use it anymore. It is because we believe that vehicle no longer works. It doesn't work. It doesn't run. It will not serve its purpose in our lives. So we put it to the side. Or we may say, look, my gas gauge is wrong, or something is off. My transmission needs to be fixed. So we may only drive only a certain amount of distances because we believe that our car is not well. It's not good. So when we say and we believe that our flesh is weak, we are saying that we believe that we are not good, well, and functioning. And then we can put limits on ourselves that we can live with, limits that we can sleep with, limits that we can make excuses and sense of because we are living under the guise that our flesh is weak. It makes us have to work less. It makes us have to push less. It makes us less accountable for the purpose on our life. Many of us, when we think about a purpose on our life, we think about, I'm sorry, y'all, situating myself. When we think about the purpose on our lives, when we think about a calling on our lives, when we think about what we are brought here for, it can be extremely overwhelming. It can be like, oh my gosh, I was here for a purpose. I'm here to do a thing. I'm here to accomplish. I came with a mission. For some of us, it drives us. Like, I'm here to do it. I'm here for it. And for some of us, it can become very overwhelming to know that we can get from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. doing things that don't necessarily serve us or feed us, but we have a calling and a purpose and something that we were really sent here to do. And sometimes it's easier to focus on the 9 to 5. Sometimes it's easier to just focus on the mundane, 1 or 2 things. This couple of things I can accomplish. Because somewhere deep down inside of us, we do believe that there's a handicap on us in our life. Not necessarily in that way that we say like, hey, I can't do this or something is wrong with me. But we don't have the faith that we should have in our power, in our presence, in our beingness. And therefore, we handicap our flesh. We say, I'm going to eat this ice cream or live this way because my flesh is weak. I'm going to step out on this marriage because my flesh is weak. I am going to, whatever it is that we want to give ourselves some relief from, or what we feel in the moment is relief, that we want to relieve ourselves of, we say like, hey, the flesh is weak. God knows my heart, but the flesh is weak. And I'm saying that those of us that are taking an intentional journey of healing, of elevation, of greatness and expansion, we are saying that we are no longer using the crutch of a lie of the weakness of our flesh in order to be comfortable in things that are hurting us, in order to sleep at night with something that is not in alignment with our purpose, in order to move in a direction that is not an ordained and anointed direction. So we are no longer going to say, like, I know I'm not investing in my talents and my gifts. I know I'm not being as generous and as loving as I can be. I know that I'm not showing up for myself in my life the way that I'm capable of. I know I'm not saving money the way that I need to save it. I know I'm not as present in my children's lives as I need to be. I know I'm not as healthy and as strong and as invested in my brain and my body as I need to be. But I'm going to use this, my flesh is weak, because it handicaps me, and everyone has sympathy for those who have deficiencies. Everyone gives mercy to those with deficiencies. Everyone is patient with those who are not always as equipped as others. Mercy. And we're saying that you are getting into that place because who's going to push you? If your flesh is weak, we're going to blame your flesh. Right? If you're in circumstances and situations that are not in alignment with your purpose and your power, and you tell me, well, my flesh is weak, I'm going to go ahead and put that accountability on your flesh. So we handicap our flesh in order to make it easier to escape the power in our lives, because power sounds really great and it sounds really wonderful, but power takes a lot and it makes a lot. It takes a lot to maintain, and it creates abundance in your world, in your life. You have to be at a place in your life. You have to be at a place in yourself in order to accept, to move on this power. Right? In order to embrace this power, because then I also have to be accountable for my power in creating it. So a lot of times we handicap the flesh. We say our flesh is weak so that we can live with living below our means. And I don't mean financial means. I mean the mission, the means of our mission, living below our purpose, living below our power. And in order to cope with that, we escape and put our blame into our flesh, and we'll say, well, the flesh is weak. I tried. I'll do better next year. There's always next year. There's next time. And we're saying, not those of us that are having a moment, not those of us that are taking charge of our moments, that are being present in our moments, that are showing up in our moments, being mindful in our moments. Those of us that are ready to take on the calling of our lives and heal and grow and become, we are saying, hey, I hear my lower vibration calling me to take on a certain thing, to take on this distraction, to deal with this issue, to make my problem bigger, to invest in something that's not going to be becoming of where I'm going, to take this derailment in my direction. I hear it. But my flesh is not weak. It is disciplined and divine. I could take that job that makes more money, that takes me away from my family at this time. But my flesh is disciplined and divine. I could take this date with this high school sweetheart that I haven't heard from in a long time, and that's calling me things and saying things to me that I haven't heard my spouse say in a long time. I could do that. But my flesh is disciplined and divine. It is not weak. I can eat this whole tray of cupcakes in here by myself. but my flesh is not weak. I could go back to this abusive or violent relationship, this toxic situation, because it would be just so much easier to not have to stand up for myself. It would be so much easier not have to fight back. It would be so much easier to not have to do all this work that it's going to take to be who I need to be. But my flesh is not weak. It is disciplined and it is divine. And when we take on that mindset, when we take on that affirmation, when we apply that affirmation to our lives, we then commit to moving beyond the barriers of life, moving beyond the child abuse and the child molestations, moving beyond the drug addictions, moving beyond the incarceration, moving beyond the diseases and the mental ailments, moving beyond all these things that seem to be these mountainous, huge, overwhelming presences in our lives that we need to succumb to and be submissive to. And we would be just if we would say, hey, I'm battling murder in my family. I'm battling cancer and disease in my family. I'm battling dysfunction within my marriage. I'm battling pain and distraughtness within my children. And it's big. I'm not talking about small pains, people. I'm not talking about traffic tickets. Okay, I'm not talking about holes in your stocking, running out of gas, needing to borrow $20. I'm talking about these monstrous, mountainous barriers. And we don't have to fight them if we take on, my flesh is weak, right? If we submit to them. We can't beat them, so we join them. But we're saying that we can beat them, we won't join them, but we will join ourselves in a higher vibration where we operate. I heard this wonderful sister explaining the different realms of existence in vibration. And she spoke of how your higher self and your lower self is always vibrating together and where you actually are. Everything exists in the same realm at the same time. So she's saying that the best option for harmony is going on. The worst option for harmony is happening. And what's actually happening for harmony is always happening. They're all operating. And me tuning in, to use the analogy of a radio station, me tuning in to where I belong and where I want to be and the vibration that I'm going to work towards will dictate which reality I'm in from moment to moment. Right? So if I'm saying that here in this moment, I get this bill, it's a turn off notice. Something crazy is about to happen in my life. Now, I can tune into the best possible option of harmony, which is going to get this money, work it out, figure it out, budget, move it around. I can tune into the lower. I can get depressed about it. I can let something happen to my home and my family. I can take on a criminal act to get this money. And I can say, well, here I am in the middle. And I can tune into myself. And when I'm talking about blowing past those barriers, right? When we're saying my flesh is not weak, we're saying that we are time enough to fight through those barriers. We believe in ourselves enough. We are powerful enough to move into the higher vibration, or to tune into that version of ourselves, to move towards who we are and where we need to be genuinely, innately, divinely. So when we handicap our flesh, it keeps us from having to fight. It gives us an excuse. It's a pass, right? But really all it does is delay the fight. Because what the Creator has on your life, you are going to have to get a hold of it and move in it, or you're going to be living in your pain, right? You're going to be living in your disaster. Heaven and hell, not a place that you go after life, but a place that you create during life. That's what that is. And so you make the choice. You make the choice, but walking in divine alignment is the choice of the upper of the two, of the higher of the two. And when we say, well, the flesh is weak, we give ourselves permission to stay in weak places. We give ourselves permission to stay in physical places. When those of us that joined us for our Moment of Harmony last week, we spoke about our physical presence, our physical being the primary being, the primary source, and the main foundation of operation. But when we say, well, the flesh is weak, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? We submit. We say that I'm afraid to move beyond this level of myself. I'm afraid. I don't know if I can. I haven't tapped into that side of me. I don't know anything about, I don't trust that. I can't see that. But what I do know and what I do trust is what has happened to me. I know that I was hurt. I know that I was beat. I know that I was violated. I trust that. I know what that's like. And I'm going to stay there because I don't know that I can overcome that. And that's why we have an affirmation. Back that, reverse that thought, reverse that curse, back that up, back it up. My flesh is not weak. In this moment, I might feel confused. In this moment, I might feel lost. In this moment, I might feel frustrated, but I am going to speak to my divine self. Okay, when that lower vibration starts to talk, I'm not talking back to it because I'm not going to engage my lower vibration in conversation or energy, because once I begin to engage it, it grows. So I'm going to engage my higher vibration. Right now, I'm feeling like, Harmony, can you do this? Neonu, can we make this happen? Yatali, is this possible? I'm starting to feel like, I don't know. That's why I'm going to speak my affirmation to my higher vibration, and I'm going to say, my flesh is not weak. It is divine and disciplined. So we handicap the flesh. That was the first point. Second point, there's 2 reasons that we have challenge in our lives. A lot of times when challenges come our way, we submit to our flesh because we feel like, we need to engage. This is what I get for keep on trying to hop in and out this chair, y'all. I'm a busybody trying to get situated in my seat. But the reason that we get into, there's 2 reasons that we have challenges. The reason that we submit to our flesh is because we begin that challenges come our way. We begin to forget why challenges come our way. We believe that we get these challenges to indulge. So there's 2 reasons, right? There's 2 reasons when it comes to challenge and temptation. We are never introduced. Remember how I told you we are souls. This is a spiritual experience, all in alignment, mind, body, soul, one. That means that anything that comes our way is to further align these things. Anything that comes our way is to further strengthen these things. But we lose sight when we are out of alignment and we are not seeking that divine direction. We lose sight of why these things are happening. Why me? How could this happen to me? Why my brother? Why my marriage? Why my money? Right? We go into because the Creator is sending you a challenge and a temptation for only 2 reasons. Your challenge or your temptation is not coming to you for you to succumb to it or physical submission. It's not coming to you for you to indulge. It's not coming to you for you to break down or lose track. You are getting challenge and temptation for 2 reasons: training and transformation. Remember how I talked about, I went to the medium and she talked to me about soul school. She said, life is soul school. Life is soul school. It is spiritual conditioning. This whole experience is physical conditioning. It's our classroom. Life, you are front and center in the life and the class of self. So every single thing that happens to you is happening for one reason or another. When we get challenged And when we get temptation, it is coming to us for transformation, and it is coming to us for training. We are not ever having anything just come to us to indulge, to be gluttonous, to be lazy, to be miserable, right? To be greedy. None of that. If the Creator brought it to your door and sat it on your step and Amazon delivered it to you, if you have a divine delivery, if you got a divine delivery of a challenge or temptation, understand that there are one or two things being asked of you. Either you are training, you're going to learn, or you're going to transform. This is why it came. It came for those reasons. And so when we say my flesh is not weak, it is divine and disciplined, it means that I have the clarity to see these challenges and temptations for what they are. And I can say, well, the Creator knows how long I've been sober. Or the Creator knows how long I've been trying to go to school. The Creator knows how long I've been waiting me for a moment on YouTube to take off. So when something comes contradictory, when something comes to challenge, when something comes to tempt me, when something comes to distract me, I'm going to say, flesh, we are disciplined and divine, because this has come in a time to transform me or train me. I'm going to another level. I'm moving to another place in my purpose and my promise. And I am being trained for that next level. I have a niece that's away in the military right now. And she's always in training. She came out of boot camp, and that boot camp, once she survived that, she survived the whole thing. And we all thought that. We were like, okay, out of boot camp, she lived through it. Every day is a new challenge. Every semester is a new demand, because you're going to another level always, as long as you're breathing and you're consistent. The Creator is always, now whether you answer the call, that's on you. That's that mental health. That's that pain. That's that misery. That's you denying the call. But as long as we answer the call, we have another level to go. As long as the Creator calls us and we say, you right? We have another level to achieve, which means we have brand new challenges, brand new temptations, and our spirit needs to be renewed in that process. It needs to be invoked. It needs to be spoken to. Our flesh needs to be renewed in that process. And so then we speak on my flesh. It's not, we, Creator, take me where you have to take me. With great mercy, I speak that, because only we have no idea what we have to go through to get where we have to go, because the calling is not clear to us completely. You have no idea how big the Creator thinks of you, how big the Creator planned for you. So when we say, my flesh is not weak, we are declaring that wherever the Creator has to take me, whatever test He has coming to train me, whatever challenge He has coming to condition me for the next level. Because I'm not just going to wake up in my everyday and be lazy. I'm not going to wake up in my everyday and move around haphazardly and not be moving around intentionally, not in change the world, not in reflect the Creator, not in being my best divine self. So I had to understand that if challenge and temptation has come my way, I'm not going to be a fleshly submission, because I'm now understanding it came to train me and transform me. So that means that my next movement needs to be towards this training and transformation. I'm going to need to get in here and do some work, because that's why it's here. So when we talk about these things coming that get us in a place of conflict with the flesh, understand why we're in a place of conflict with the flesh in the first place. We're being conditioned, right? And we're going to go at it with that mindset. We're going to understand that this boss keep coming up in here messing with me for my conditioning. The Creator is taking me to some great places with some great battles. And so I'm going to have to learn how to deal with this. The Creator is taking me to a higher level with a higher demand and higher requirements on myself. So I know that that's why, these bills keep coming like that. They're not trying to challenge me and tempt me in the way that I think so fleshly. They're trying to transform me. They're training me. They're training me in my discipline. They're training me in my faith. They're training me in my focus. And now I can focus on them in that way. So when we talk about the next point that we're talking about is when we talk about being in the flesh, we're talking about being inside of ourselves. It is very important that we see ourselves as soul. We understand the magnitude of power of self, because inside of us is where the success happens. And we can believe in outwardly things. We can submit to external elements when we don't understand the power and greatness of the internal. So many of us go into work. We go inside of a building to make things happen, right? We go inside of work, a building, to make money. We go inside of a court to seek justice. We go inside of a church to speak to God. We go inside of a bank to invest or to have money obligations. We go inside of a grocery store to get food. So there's a lot of times when we feel like being physically in a place is what's creating the successes and the actualization of things around us. And to a degree, you're right. We do have to physically go into work to physically make money. We do have to physically walk in a grocery store to physically get food. But that is where we leave it. Many of us leave it just at that. What's happening in our lives, we think, is because of where we're going to make these things happen. But I'm going to tell you that for the success on your life, for the heightened abilities of self, for the expansion of spirit, for the limitless growth and potential, the only thing you have to go inside of, the only place you have to be present in to make it happen is yourself. So you have to go into work to make money. But you have to go within yourself to have discipline to go into work. You have to go into the grocery store to make groceries. But you have to go into yourself for the will and the discernment to go in and choose for yourself what's going to nourish you and your body and your family. You have to go into church to congregate and be with like minds, which is a beautiful thing. But you do not have to go into church for the access of God. You do not have to go into church for the access of the Creator. For the greatest and grandest successes in your life, you have to be present within self. Many people will tell you that going into the military, it's not what's going to make my niece her most profound and great self. Going within herself via the vehicle of the military. Going into college as a vehicle, going into yourself while in college is what's going to bring out the best parts of yourself. Going into that marriage is not going to make you whole. Going into yourself via the vehicle of your marriage is what's going to make. So self is the key. So if your flesh is weak, then your access is weak. And for all of us techno junkies, your Wi-Fi is weak. Your connection is weak. So if your flesh is weak, your connection is weak, and you can't go into these things because we're getting caught up that, well, I'm doing my best because I'm getting up. I'm doing my best because I went to work. I'm praising God because I went to church. Excuse me. I'm teaching the children because I went into the school building. I'm getting and furthering and expounding myself. People graduate empty. People marry empty and broken. People get checks and get raises and promotions empty. People achieve because they're on an empty level, because they're achieving on a physical level. And they've stopped at the physical because they don't know about the alignment and just how much power is in the physical. They've limited themselves within their physical. And we're doing the same thing when we think our flesh is weak, when we succumb to fleshly traps, which is another reason why we handicap. That's another reason why we handicap our flesh, because we have these trauma traps. We have trauma traps that keep us stuck. We have trauma traps that make us feel more comfortable in the trauma than in the delivery, more comfortable in the pain than in the power, because it's what we're familiar with. It's a trauma trap. And we trap ourselves in our physicalness. And then when things aren't going to a higher level, when we aren't growing to our highs, because we never came here. Existence was never created with capital as a foundation. Existence was never created with material as a foundation. The Creator did not put all great intent in making us in His reflection, in the greatest, giving us the greatest parts of Him for us to come here and make money. We need it. We have to eat. We have to make things happen. It has become the way of the land. It is the way of the world. We're talking about flesh then. I'm saying, but I did not come here for the ways of the world. I came here to move the world by way of the Creator. I came here for the ways of the Creator. Therefore, I am not going to succumb to that my flesh is weak. I know that I was sent here to do more, and that if my flesh is weak, then I will have distractions that weaken my connection to my spiritual source and self. We're not falling into that. We're coming out of those trauma traps. So, understand that when we're talking about success, to be my greatest self, I have to go inside of me. I have to clock inside to me. I have to show up inside of me. I have to be the best inside of me, which means I can't be in anything weak. I can't. When Barack Obama came down in his inauguration, and during many of his driving down those parades, being the first Black president, and many people thinking that he was going to be outed, he had to come through and to bullet his vehicle. The vehicle that he was transported in was bulletproof. The vehicle was bulletproof because of who he is, because of who the society valued him to be. He could not have a weak car. He could not come through on no bike. Right? Obama couldn't have rode through his inauguration on a motorcycle. He needed to come through in something that was strong. And I'm saying that we have to go through this life in a vessel that is strong, that is empowered, that knows what it's encapsulating, that values what it's encapsulating, and will not succumb to the distractions of what has to happen inside of me, what has to happen with me, what has to happen for me, what has to happen about me. Because I have to do this work. I have to create this reality. I have to be a part of the solution. So my vessel is not weak, and I'm not succumbing to that. India Arie has one of my favorite songs. She talks about being ready for love, and she's talking to her brother in the song, and she say, "You look good. You look good, you smell good, and you probably even taste good. Hey, but can you be a part of my life?" We're talking about not having a weak vessel. One of my favorite songs that she does, and I love India and all of her songs, but that's one of, but she's saying like, "Bro, you all right. Don't get me wrong, in a bag of chips. She says, but if pretty's only skin deep, then your pretty skin won't send me to my highest high. We're talking about going beyond. We're talking about expanding and aligning ourselves. Right? So we're saying that I am never succumbing to the weakness of my flesh because it is not moving me. Blessings, thank you all. Because I'm never succumbing to the weakness of my flesh because it becomes the barrier of my greatness. Your flesh, we all know, when we're inside of something, it can be protecting us or it can be preventing us, depending on how we use it. Now, if your flesh is weak, it's preventing your spirit from growth, from expansion, from its fullest potential. But if your flesh is strong, if your flesh is healthy, then you're talking about you're being protected within it, right? You're being progressive within it. And so you decide, am I being prevented or am I being protected by my flesh? Am I being prevented from moving forward? Am I preventing my progress? Am I prolonging because my flesh is weak? So when we talk about being inside of ourselves and not becoming weak to our flesh, we have to understand just the powerful declaration we're making when we say, my flesh is not weak. It is divine and disciplined. The devil is a liar. I will not succumb to these things. Yes, sis, you finer than a little bit. But I know that I am focused on this mission. Can you be a part of my mission? Yes, that check that they're offering me, that looks real nice. But my flesh is not weak. Right? It's not the deciding factor. It is the protector of the deciding factor. How does this benefit the deciding factor? My spirit. Right? I know I can go on this trip or I can pay this bill. My flesh is not weak. It is divine and it is disciplined. My flesh is not weak. It is divine and it is disciplined. It understands the assignment. And the assignment is holistic. I cannot expect my spirit to do something that I'm not making my flesh prepare it for. Right? I can't say that I'm going to be patient and kind and understanding and humble. And my flesh is greedy and weak and unhealthy and lowly. That's not at all how that's going to happen. They have to be in alignment. So if I'm saying that my spirit is going to overcome the negative comments, the naysayers, the toxic environments, I'm saying that my body too, my flesh too, must be overcoming of the toxic environments, of the naysayers. I can't be in the plastic surgery office trying to get everything nipped and tucked, but I say that my spirit is going to be humble. My spirit is going to be grateful. My spirit is going to be connected to my source. That's not going to align. So I have to say, like, look, I'm getting older. Things are changing. I'm seeing things change. But I'm saying my flesh is not weak. I know that because of the calling on my life, everything that's happening for me is moving me closer to that because my flesh is disciplined and divine. It's moving me closer to my greater self. I know that because of where I am within myself, that it's only going to get greater later. Because I know how the Creator works. I'm one with Him. I'm one with that energy. Ashe, right? So we're going to get ready to get out of here. I don't want to keep you for a long moment. Thank you so much for all of you that are tuning in and that have been present this entire time. I appreciate sharing these moments with you all. We're going to get into our last point, right? When we talk about flesh, we're talking about flesh representing the physical. Right? When people say my flesh is weak, we're talking about the physical self. We're talking about a lower vibrational. So if we think about ourselves like this, I have a saying that says healing, it has become, literally, it's going to be our main slogan, our main saying, our primary saying, quote, for a moment of harmony. Healing is the elevator between the human being and the divine being. So let's think about, in vibrations, your spiritual self and your human self, right? Let's think about them. One as being highly evolved, one as being on a journey towards evolution. So when we think about them in that way, we would think about the flesh being a physical thing. So we think about, when we say our flesh is weak, we're saying that physically. Oh, I didn't do my battery. I'm sorry. I forgot to find my battery up. Give me 1 second, guys. Thank you so much for your patience. I was so excited to get us tuned in today, and I never plugged up this laptop. Y'all see why I need to be getting the subscriptions I need from my phone. I never plugged it up, but we're doing that right now. All right, so thank you so much for your mercy and your patience. Right? That was a challenge, and now we're back in. Hopefully it got brighter, guys, and you guys can see me better because you guys got dark for me for a second. Okay, we're tuned in. So that was a challenge and temptation. Transformation or training, right? Training me to get better, do better. Let's go. So our last and final point was that we talk about the flesh, and the flesh represents the physical. When we speak about it, and a lot of times we think that because we say our flesh is weak, to strengthen our flesh, we're going to have to be doing these fleshly physical strengtheners. I'm here to say no. To strengthen the flesh, when we talk about flesh, we are talking about physical elements, but to strengthen our flesh, we have to be strengthened in the spiritual. Flesh is not strengthened in the physical, even though it represents the physical. Why? Because our foundation and our source, our main functionality comes from the spirit. So by the time the flesh begins to break down, by the time the flesh is weakened, by the time the flesh is dysfunctional, we have already begun to disconnect, break down, and be dysfunctional in the spirit. It starts there. So a lot of times when we want to get spiritually strong, we start in our physical. And we are physical beings, and we are in alignment. So yes, we must meditate. We must work out. We must. But it's not going to strengthen our spiritual if we're doing it backwards. Okay, you can go in the gym and be the strongest, healthiest, builtest, best of your physical self, but you are not healed from your traumas. You're still living in trauma traps. You have not elevated yourself to kindness, generosity, sacrifice, discipline, right? You haven't gone into those realms at all with yourself. And that is because you strengthen what you thought were fleshly issues in the flesh. So yes, go work out in that gym. Go exfoliate that skin. Go ahead and eat better. And see, though, when you are faced with challenge and temptation, are you spiritually strong enough? You know, if you're working out in that gym all the time, or you're out there jogging on that track, and then somebody passes you that look good, and you give into that temptation of adultery, then your physical has been strengthened not for the glory, right? It hasn't been strengthened for the glory. It's been strengthened for your lower vibration, and it strengthens your lower vibration. But guess what happens when you strengthen for the higher of self? Guess what happens when you tap in to spiritually strengthen yourself, which then strengthens your mind and body, and then you work for the glory. You get the glory. You live a long and prosperous life in greatness, in peace, and good health and elevation. You further your spiritual soul conditioning so that you are where you need to be when you transition into your ancestral realm. So, but if you're doing it backwards, if we're having the saying, my soul or my flesh is not weak. That's for those that are just tuning in at the end, our affirmation of the week is my flesh is not weak. It is disciplined and divine. When we say that, we're speaking from a spiritual place. And because we're speaking from a spiritual place, we're working into that physical place. We are saying that what I'm dealing with right now in front of me may look physical. This bill, this broken down car, this crying baby, this dying marriage, this overweight body, this ailing mindset. These things may look physical, may look like they need medicine or surgery. But what they need is for me to strengthen my spirit and my mind, and then I strengthen my flesh. Then I can say, I see that tray of cookies, and I'm not going to eat all these cookies because I'm sad. Because my flesh is not weak. It is disciplined and divine. I understand why this temptation or this challenge is here. It is to transform me and train me. The Creator did not set anything around me to trap me and hold me. If I'm in a trauma trap and I'm not growing and becoming, this means that this is a worldly, low vibrational setup that I'm being stuck in and I'm not growing. I'm being stuck in and I'm not growing in it. And this was not a part of the divine plan for me. So if something came my way that I needed to work through, even when we go into the past, so many regrets that we may have, it was put there to train me and train me and transform me. It was put there to train me and transform me, and I see it for what it is, and my flesh is not weak, and I am more disciplined and more divine as I move forward. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much for joining me for our moment today. I want us to make sure I have this one note that we make commitments to the flesh that will elevate our spiritual. So make commitments to your flesh that will elevate your spiritual, and you do that via the discipline. Right? We make commitments to our flesh. Like as I'm 36 years old now, the older I get, I can't hang as late as I used to. But I can make a commitment to my fleshly strength. But it has to be done in the spiritual first and enacted and activated upon in the physical. And I can make a commitment that, hey, I can't stay up late, but I can get up early. Okay? I can't save $1,000, but I can save 50 this week. I can't go to every one of my child's basketball games, but I can commit to 2 or 3. Make commitments to your flesh that will elevate your spirit, and that happens via the discipline. Ashe. Right? So thank you all for joining me for another moment of harmony. This video will be shared on my Facebook platform. You please, if you're watching this on Facebook, definitely subscribe. Go and log onto YouTube. If this video came right on time, please like and subscribe. I am learning how important these likes and subscriptions are. Child, and they like money. Okay, it's like money. It's a trade-off. So like and subscribe, share, go back. Send this message to someone who needs a little bit of that needs a moment of love and light in their life. Thank you so much for joining me this Saturday. We have our Moments Matter Facebook page up and jumping. All of our Moments members are going to be moving that direction. We're sending out instruction for that. If you are a Moments member, I love you. Thank you for joining me and signing up. I'm excited about all the places we're going together in person. If you live in Baltimore or the DMV area and you would love to be a Moments member, that's where we come once a month for some in-person moments, and we do some homework, some healing homework together. So if you're interested in that, all you have to do is DM me on Messenger or in my Facebook. Again, it's not hyphenated on Facebook. It's Harmonie, Harmonie Davis. If you're not on any of those platforms, my email is perfectmony, like perfect harmony, PERFECTMONY 06 @gmail.com. Get those moment members inquiries in. We are accepting moment members all the time, and we are growing in this healing in person arena. So thank you for joining me. Like, subscribe, share, care, love, give, grow. We are growing and glowing together. Thank you all so much for joining me for another moment. I will see you next Saturday at 10. Thank you for sticking with me and being patient through these technical difficulties and this navigating. I promise you, one day you're going to look back and say, I remember when Harmony was on YouTube with the little choppy webcam and her room in the background and all of this stuff. And now look at her now, and look where she has taken all of us. Because we are going to be growing and glowing together. Remember to stay in yourself, love within yourself, and grow outwards into the universe. You are loved and appreciated, and may under the sound of my voice you be blessed in this very moment. Thank you for having another moment with me.